Yeah, I mean, I was very fortunate that Pete invited me back after I left the studio to come back to Pixar and go into development. And the mandate for anyone who starts development is to just produce 3 ideas, very early concepts. They don't have to be very fleshed out, and just to start off, so that we can start talking about what this movie could be or what movie they would like me to make. And I had this movie called Penguin Avatar. It was about penguins. And you can tell, like, we clearly pivoted to a different animal, but I think it was for a good reason. And but I think at the core of it, there was this really fun what if of, like, what if you could go into the animal world and see what they're talking about and be with the animals as an animal. And I think a lot of the fun of hopping was inspired by these nature documentaries where they actually put robot animals in nature and try to spy on them. We just imagine what if that technology was so good you couldn't tell the difference. So that was kind of the beginning days of the process. I think a lot of it is just intuitive in the sense of, that's my taste and my tone, and that's what I find funny and interesting. And I was inspired a lot by the movies I grew up with, where tone is not a problem if it bounces all over the place. Think of movies like Gremlins or Beetlejuice. These are movies that, we're not afraid to be both silly and comedic, but also scary and frightening and absurd. That's my bag. That's what I love doing, is like movies and projects that have that. And so I kind of just brought that energy into the studio. And obviously there's a lot of fine tuning that needs to happen, and that's why the movie took 6 years to make. But I think I come built in with a desire to mix a lot of those tones. And the emotional part obviously is maybe the part that is the most tricky when you have craziness as part of the mandate or what I'm trying to do with this movie. But luckily, I'm surrounded by an amazing team that is really attuned to those things, and obviously a studio that makes great movies that are super emotional, and so they can also help guide you with those things. So I would say that that's kind of the trick, if there is one, to kind of balancing all those tones.
Well, I mean, first of all, it has the heart and the humor, as we've discussed, and to me, those are the main elements of the Pixar brand. But I think it represents a kind of turning point, too, as our 30th film, with a new voice and new sensibility. I've often said that, the classic Pixar films will establish a set of rules and will stick by them throughout. And I think that came from working in CG, with the photorealism of it, that you wanted to be sure you were consistent. And I think what Daniel does really well is, he's established a world, that you're invested in with a set of rules, and then he breaks them all. And I think that sensibility and that sense of humor is also very contemporary. I think that this generation, on YouTube, that people are just used to blending things, breaking rules, and that's what people find is really funny. So I'm excited about a film that's kind of representing a turning point for Pixar. Oh.
I really like King George's world. I also like the council and the world of that. There's kind of animal politics in it, but it's all kind of silly and they're all acting like animals still. I don't know. I got really thrilled by getting to put that on screen and see what that would play out, and it just felt like there was so much comedy to be had in that. The other part of it is also, like, how do you put these cute, chunky animals in the most perilous and terrifying situations? We look at movies like Mad Max, Fury Road, thinking of the intensity of that action and the craziness and the wildness and the chaos that a lot of those movies had. And I was just like, what if we put those cute animals through that same pace and, like, see what happens? And to me, that was exciting, getting to kind of mash those things up. So yeah. That's mine.
Well, I love all that stuff as well, but I'm just going to give some credit to the human world and to the scientists, and maybe I relate a little bit to Dr. Sam. You had mentioned that earlier, yeah. Making this effort to create something, but not also, a lot unlike King George, barely having a handle on it. And I love that, Mabel has got a place to go, when she finally figures out that she needs to align with others. I love what Dr. Sam says, or the scientists say about her being passionate, annoyingly persistent, and strong. And I find that very moving at the end of the movie. So I guess I have hope for the human world. I think that there's a complexity and a potential future for it that's exciting.